Hello and welcome to the Daily Records Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. My name's Angus Hyde, and today I'm joined by Scott McDermott and Andy Newport, live from Ibrox. Lads, how's things?
Good, Angus.
Very well.
All right.
Stuff now. Big game for Rangers today. Jablonec here on the kind of last chance for European football this season for Rangers. Let's just kick us off with that. How's things for Rangers going into this one?
Well, they're in a lot better state of mind now after Sunday's victory over St Mirren here, obviously in the Premier Sports Cup. I mean, I think we spoke at the weekend about just how relieved Derek McInnes must have been to get that win under his belt. Scored 5 goals, could have been more. And I just think that will give them a real injection of confidence going into this European game. Like, the Conference League isn't where they want to be. Obviously, the result against Jablonec in the last round was a really poor performance, especially in the second half here at Ibrox. But it is what it is. You know, we've got a Conference League playoff, if you say, and if they want group stage football of some sort here this season, like they should be beating Jablonec. I mean, God due respect, I know they've had a good start this season in the Czech league. I think Andy was saying they've won six on the bounce. But I think they struggled to get past the Latvian team in the last round, the last qualifying round of this competition. So Rangers, as I say, with the players they've got, with the crowd behind them, and as I say, with the confidence for that victory on Sunday, I think they really should be getting a decent league here to take over to the Czech Republic next week.
Yeah, of course. And last time, it's not Jablonec, it's his first time in Glasgow. I think in 2021, they had Celtic and they got Hyde, 3-0, leading on to a 7-2 overall aggregate score. There's no way this is a progress type nightmare for Rangers, is it?
No, well, I think Rangers fans would like to hope not. But listen, I think last week showed, Rangers were fancy to get past Ballystock and didn't manage to get it done. So listen, where Rangers are right now in their development under Derek McInnes, the state they are with so many players coming in, so many players going out, you really can't take anything for granted. I mean, we've seen, there's still partnerships sort of getting worked out across the pitch. There's still guys getting to know each other's games. I mean, even the fact that we've got signings come in, only yesterday, that tells you that this is still a team that's very much a work in progress. So, listen, Rangers can't afford to be in any way complacent. They have to go out there and, go give it their full effort, their full concentration. I think that's been maybe some of the major issues so far this season. You've seen guys there that haven't looked utterly switched on. Manny Fernandez has had a really difficult start to the season. That fall for a lot of goals, and he's somebody that's going to have to be absolutely bang at it tonight if Rangers are to avoid the kind of banana skin you're talking about there, Angus.
The bottom line, Angus, is they need to go on a run of positive results. I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but Derek McInnes is trying to build a squad and a team here. It's been a poor start, and a sticky start for them. They'll try to gel, 10, 11 new players up to this point, probably more to come. But the games come pretty fast, and it's big games, and they need to build a wee bit of momentum, a bit of positivity. They need to, Derek McInnes keeps saying it, they need to give the crowd here something to get behind. And that's only going to come with winning games, irrespective of the competition.
I mean, you can see, Scott, across the city that what just a bit of momentum and a bit of feel-good factor does. I mean, you saw the atmosphere around Celtic throughout the summer was just, looked to be heading that sort of same toxic direction it was going last year. They obviously get a couple of signings in, they hit the ground running, and all of a sudden they're feeling great about themselves. Rangers have had the opposite. A lot of new guys come in, and they haven't fed into the optimism that was there when Derek McInnes got appointed, and the sort of slew of new recruits coming in. It's went the opposite way, and now there's doubt, now there's fragility about it.
I think we've maybe lost some audio from the boys. I'm not sure. Let us know in the comments. Can you hear me, guys? I can't hear. we'll maybe let them jump out and jump back in. Let them sort themselves out. Massive game for Rangers today. Keep your comments coming in. We were looking at, just having a quick look at the comments just now. McInnes, yeah, it's one of them that is obviously going to be a big thing for him to hang his hat on. He needs to get the performances going. That performance for the League Cup was a massive one, just to get the spirits up at Ibrox with a kind of disappointing record. Obviously, the look that has been compared to the likes of Russell Martin, it's not been that swashbuckling change that we've expected at Rangers. But yeah, of course, he'll be hoping that his side can get through against Jablonec. What I'll do for just now, if we've got them back in just about. I'll just see if we can get them back in, and then hopefully we can get back onto Rangers. If not, we'll briefly talk about Celtic with our very own Ryan McDonald. I'll just drop the boys in now. Oh, just now. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Perfecto. Mate, boys, you're putting me in the spot here. You're rattling out the carriage.
Is that a wee bit of sweat in your head there, Angus?
Maybe just a wee bit. It's a humid country in Scotland. Right, so really what to take away from my nonsense, boys. Looking at that squad, there's areas that obviously Dell wants to improve within that Rangers squad. Right now, it's what he's got in front of him. What players are Rangers really going to be looking to get this result tonight? Because performances have to come.
Well, obviously a big thing was the way that we played going back to that 4-3-3. I'd be surprised if they changes that tonight, given the result at the weekend. So you look at that performance, the two that stuck out at the weekend were Dragojevic in the middle of the park, who obviously the first start in midfield, and I thought looked really good with his energy, his enthusiasm. A stunning goal, obviously, an absolute he was terrific, so he'll be looking to build on that performance. I think he gives Rangers something different in the middle of the pitch. And the other one was obviously James Penrice, so he's on his debut at left back, who was excellent for a boy coming in. I know he's been here before at Hearts and he knows the league, but he came in after just with his teammates, I think, for 24 hours, one training session, and to pick up the man of the match award, get a goal and an assist. I thought he was terrific. So again, he'll look to build on that, and that's what we're saying. They're talking about the momentum, the positive energy. Well, they need players to come in and hit the ground running, because there's just, as Andy touched on there, there's just no time. I mean, it sounds as if, but it feels like they say this every season. Players come to Glasgow or new managers start, just do not get time to bed in. As I say, Celtic have hit the ground running. Rangers have stumbled a wee bit, and they need to get back on track, irrespective of what's happening in the transfer window or who they're trying to get in, because the games just keep coming. The second leg of this next week, straight to Pittodrie on the Sunday, away to Aberdeen. They've got an Old Firm double header obviously coming up next month as well, so there's no time, there's no settling in period at the Old Firm. Ben McInnes will know that.
I mean, there is obviously some news today. I think it's Minsu Kim from Girona. It's your understanding that I think there's some reports in Spain saying there's a €10 million bid being put in for him, Girona winger. I think it's got your understanding that he's on a list, but it's not quite got to the stage of official bids going in so far.
I think he'll be high on the list. And they're also looking at different wide players. I think Derek McInnes would probably like another one on the left and one on the right. To come in. So this boy to Girona is definitely high in the list. He's been talked about. It's our understanding there's no official bid in yet at this stage, but that's not to say that won't change obviously in the next 24 to 48 hours, because he definitely is on Rangers' radar. He kind of fits the bill, I think he's wide left. He's only 20-year-old. Played in La Liga. I think he included the Champions League for Girona as well, so that's certainly one to watch out for in the next day or two.
Another news that I had this morning was that the club's Rangers have been in touch with Besiktas just to hold some tentative discussions about a return for Václav Černý. Listen, this has been one that's been ongoing all summer. It's my understanding that they've held initial talks, but it might be problematic. Listen, the figures involved are quite eye-watering from a Rangers sort of stance. You're talking about, the Turks are looking for something in the region about €8 million to let him go. Obviously, he's a terrific start to the season. He's playing over there. He's scoring regularly for them. He's on a hefty wage. You're talking sort of £2 million a year salary. I think if he was to come here, he'd have to be prepared to take a wage cut. But it's my understanding that might be a hurdle that's too much to overcome. Just the kind of drop in wages that Rangers would be comfortable paying might be the sort of thing that stands in the way of something happening. Listen, I think a lot of Rangers fans would be delighted to see him back. A terrific spell here on loan from Wolfsburg. I think it was 19 goals, another 9 assists. I think had Barry Ferguson got the job before Russell Martin last year, that would probably been a deal you saw happen. I think the deal was in place. The player enjoyed his time in Glasgow, would have jumped at the chance to make it permanent had Rangers went ahead and sort of pushed the button in the deal that Wolfsburg were looking for. I think there was an option in the loan deal, but as things stand with him now over in Turkey earning a shed load of money, frankly, and playing well over there, I think that's going to be one that's maybe difficult to take place.
It is a dilemma though, and if you think of the kind of strategy, you pay the big money for Černý, who's proven here, so experienced, kind of been there and done it. You know what you're getting from him, but you're paying maybe 7-8 million, knowing that there's no real selling value there.
He'll be 29 in 2 months, so you're talking about a guy that you're not going to get that money back. I mean, you've just got to accept that that's a deal, that's an investment you're making for the here and now.
That's a sign that they don't win now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans want it. Of course, they don't want to be spending recklessly, but when you think Celtic can win titles in a row and Rangers are trying to claw it back, at some point they need to go and sign proven
I found it interesting. I saw a fan talking about today going, there's no guarantee that this guy would come back and sort of hit the levels that before. But when was the last time Rangers had a winger that was scoring 19 goals in a season? And for me, I think if it's something you could get, if it's a value or a fee that they feel comfortable with, for me it's a no-brainer. But listen, I'm not the money man here. I mean, they've got their own concerns to take into it. But they have spent a lot of money so far. They've brought in a lot of players, but how many of them have come in and hit the ground running?
Yeah, that's a difference maker. Yeah. That's what you're paying the money for. You look, as you see across the city, Celtic going and getting who from Gordon Lump. You kind of know what you're getting from him. You've been round the block, he's played Champions League, scored goals. Pay that money and you get the return. And listen, we get the fact that Rangers, of course, every team wants to go and try and find gems, young players with potential. You look at Dragojevic, for instance, coming in for Partizan, where you go and sign him at 20 years old, Partizan captain. And of course you hope further down the line you're going to make a profit. Listen, Rangers will probably look to try and make a profit on Nico Raskin if they can, who's been here for a few years. That seems to be a model, but I'm just curious as to at what point do you say we need to actually go and sign players to win titles in here and now. And I think Černý falls into that category.
It kind of reminds me a bit of a lot of people say Arsenal overpaid for Bruno Guimaraes, for example, but you look at that, we're paying for the result now. Here's a player that can do the job now. You've got a man there in Turkey where was it 27 goal involvements for Rangers when he was there, and looking at that, I've got to say, in hindsight, Rangers fans must be tearing the hair out, because what was that, 6 million they could have paid from? Now looking at 10 million from a boy from Getafe. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as I say, Rangers have a model. They obviously want to be looking in younger. They want to be bringing in guys that they can develop and then sell on. But as Scott says, I mean, listen, there's a title being won right now. You've got a team across the city who are signing guys that are ready-made, guys that have played Champions League, experience at playing at the top level, scoring at the top level. That's what Rangers are up against. So, Darren McInnes is already made clear. He's been looking for wingers since the day he walked in the door. We're now sort of 2 months into the job for him. He's only really been given Daisuke Yokota he's looking to get guys in that are absolutely ready-made, can hit the ground running. That's the challenge, but those guys don't come cheap, and Rangers need to decide whether or not bringing in somebody like Václav Černý, who they're not going to get. The likelihood is they won't see their money back. If that is better value than bringing in somebody that might take 6 months to get up to full speed, but they might be able to generate them millions down the line.
Ultimately, Angus, if you're serious about going and winning titles, winning trophies, you can't build the squad with project players who you think are going to make your money in 2 or 3 years' time. I mean, you could argue that once you actually go and win titles and you're an established title winning team, that's when you go and sign 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds and try and build it that way. But I think when you're the chaser, as Rangers are trying to win down Celtic and win a title, I think the only way you're going to get there, I'm not saying as I say, you spend $1 million, you go and you're reckless in it, but I think you need 2 or 3 proven quality signings.
Surely Rangers will argue that bringing in Dan Neil, bringing in Lawrence Shanklin, bringing Ross McCrory back at 27, they've already done that this summer. They've brought back those big characters, big figures, and now it's about adding in the wee flair bits or guys that are really encouraging, really exciting. That's them building for the future.
In terms of proven IE, like Shanklin and Devlin coming in, for instance, proven at Scottish Premiership level, I've got no issue with that, because I think Rangers, we talked enough about how much Rangers needed that more of a Scottish influence, certainly in terms of Shanklin and more guys that knew the league. But I'm talking Champions League, proven, even at Celtic, look at Duran, who's a young player still, but he still scored goals in the Champions League. He's proven at that level. And Rangers were here tonight for that Conference League game. That's the level Rangers are at the minute. Derek McInnes said after the Jablonec game, he said, this club's built for Champions League, Europa League, but they're not ready for that. I mean, that's what an indictment that is, given that this club has been in Europe.
Given the number of players that they've signed over the last year, I mean, you're talking about 27, 28 players. I mean, like, exactly. Yeah.
It's nowhere near good enough, and if you're going to make that jump, if you're going to bridge that gap, that's what I say. I think you need at least 1 or 2 proven players that irrespective of age or cost or whatever. You need players to come in and hit the ground running. I just think Černý probably falls into that category. It's going to be interesting and intriguing to see how the club can navigate that.
Yeah, of course. Do you think that Rangers need that kind of Hollywood signing to bring that over? Because you've got the guys coming in who a lot of people not knowing the club. You've got these guys who do know the club, but do you think that kind of for who kind of signing, when you look at the impact he's had over across the city, do you think that's needed at Rangers?
I think they need personalities, Angus, characters. Talk about who at Celtic. Not only is a good player, but he comes in, you just see his personality, goes straight into that dressing room. Looks like one of the main guys in there.
Think about him as well. What he did do was that signing alone was the thing that indicated to the Celtic support, right, the penny pinching that they've been going on for the last few years, that's over. They're now prepared to spend the kind of sums that are required to get the kind of quality that's required. So that in itself kind of turned the mood around at Celtic. I think what Rangers need is somebody that can excite the fans here, because right now, every guy comes in now, the fans, they're pleased to see a new face arrive, but because they've seen so many players come in and fail, everybody comes in and it's an immediate bit of scepticism, a immediate bit of uncertainty, or they don't have that immediate faith that I think signings of old would have come on, guys would have got that benefit of the doubt immediately. Right now, Rangers fans are coming in, looking at new signings coming in, going, right, you need to impress me, and if you don't impress me in the first 5 minutes, that instant reaction, that instant first impression will end up being a negative one. So that's why Rangers need to begin bringing guys in that can give the fans that faith back that this team is capable of winning things.
It needs to be a Hollywood signing in terms of the name. It doesn't necessarily need to be the big name, but it's got to be somebody that's proven at a certain level. I see a lot of the guys that have been linked to come in, are at a lower level with the potential, to step up a few levels. And as I say, that's fine, to a certain degree. But I just think where Rangers are now, and listen, talking to Derek McCann most weeks, press conferences, games, you can just sense from him, there's a slight frustration there that they've no way to go to kind of real proven quality. And listen, that might come later in the window. We all know the window, the way it goes when it gets towards the end. Obviously, English clubs are a bit behind. People start getting desperate. There's a lot of moving parts, so it might come later in the window. Rangers fans might need to wait. But as we touched on earlier, the big games just keep coming for them, and they've not got a lot of time. They're already playing catch up in the league, so I think the manager wants a proven wide players. He obviously needs a striker as well to come in and replace Shamiti, who's injured. I know he can played it down yesterday at the press conference, but I still think he'd like a left-sided centre-back if he can get one. As I touched on, I wrote a piece today for the record online just about the transfer window and who they might, what positions they might target. Derek McInnes has said, we've got so many midfielders, we don't need any more. But I've made the point that if Nico Raskin goes before the end of the window, I don't think there's a good chance. And Connor Barron, who's been out in the cold, he looks like he might be moved on as well. I think if they two go and Kofi Diomande is already going, I think we would need to go back in and try and get another midfielder as well.
Do you want the breaking news, Angus? We've got the team names from Ibrox tonight. Big news. No Nico Raskin. Right for that. So we've got Pandur in goal, Dujon Sterling, Manny Fernandez, Macania, James Penrice is your back four, Dan Neil, Dragicevic, Tochi Chukwani is your midfield, Daisuke Yokota, Jerry Gisama and Ryan Nadiri. So as I say, one change. Raskin, I mean, Scott taking that immediately. He's on the bench. Subs are Kelly, McCrory, Nadal, Jukovic, Devlin, Raskin, Barron, Cameron, McCausland, Curtis, Asgard, Majowski and Shanklin.
I'm really surprised, obviously, that Raskin going out. He was captain, obviously, at the weekend. I don't know about you, Andy, that would suggest to me that maybe going to have a movement.
Well, obviously, I don't know. Again, you've always got to be taking a pinch of salt. Reports from Turkey, there is some interest from Fenerbahce. Reports saying that they're in for Nico Raskin. Listen, Nico Raskin, I didn't think had his best game at the weekend. It's one again these games where he sort of played in fits and starts. Dan Neil has come to be, he was handed the vice captaincy. I think, the intention was that he would come and be a big figure for this team. It's not really happened yet. Maybe it's just they're thinking this might be a nice occasion, full house at home, that they can get finally a bit of life out of him. But it does seem strange to me, because I think since Nico Raskin's come back into the team, you can see he does bring about a personality which this team wants.
The exact same formation with somebody which I think the front will be pleased about. And the fact that the rest of the team stayed the same, it surprises me if Derek McInnes could just make that one change to bring the captain and leaving on the bench. Especially, there's no game at the weekend, because if you're trying to keep them fresh for a big game at the weekend. So, Andy's right, Dan Neil came in with a real reputation down south as a quad number 6 that was going to dictate games for you, his passing range and passing ability. It just hasn't happened yet, like a lot of players have come up to England. The Rangers in the early part of the time here looks like he's going to struggle to make that jump. So it's another opportunity for him tonight. He's got the armband, which is obviously a big responsibility. And whatever's happening with Nico Raskin, I asked the manager about it yesterday. I think the back of Derek McInnes' mind has to plan for life without Raskin. And I've just said there, I think if Raskin and Barron were to go, they would need to bring in another sitting midfielder, and I believe that's the case. But at the moment, Dan Neil's probably next in line for that position, and he's getting a chance tonight. But as I say, I think the fact Raskin is out is interesting. That to me. And McInnes said yesterday he expected conversations to be had around Raskin's future. He did say that he didn't think he'd been distracted by any speculation, but I'm really surprised that he's been left out, and I might be jumping the gun a bit, but that actually suggests to me that something might be going on in the background in terms of where Nico Raskin might end up.
It'll be interesting to see what goes on with Raskin. Obviously, Penrice back after his electric start. And of course, Shankland on the bench yet again.
Yeah, no surprise, because I think, judging by the way the team played at the weekend, that was the first time you've really seen Rangers performing as an organised unit. Obviously, a lot of talk about the change of shape from 2 strikers to 1, bring the extra man into midfield. But I think Rangers have definitely finally stumbled upon something that works. We've seen them chop and change the starting lineup. I think it was like the 5 changes from the first game to the.
Okay, well, I think we may have lost them again. However, I think apologies, guys, for our technical difficulties today. I think we'll leave them to it. I was getting at my last question was just to see what they think, how they think tonight's going to go for Rangers. Obviously, Jablonec sitting there in the Conference League. Interesting one for Rangers. And as you can see, Raskan out of the starting 11. Moving on, obviously, across the city yesterday, LASK came to town and Celtic put on a show. A massive win for Celtic. It was Benjamin Negrin and, of course, Camilo Duran, who it was a couple of absolute stunners. I caught up with Record Sports' Ryan McDonald, and he gave me his reaction to a pretty famous win at Celtic Park. And I'm joined here by Ryan McDonald. Ryan, what a game at Celtic Park last night. Did Martin O'Neill have one of these for the goals?
Classic joystick. It was another magical night at Celtic Park last night. The Champions League anthem really set the tone at the start. That famous roar. Celtic fans have been yearning for that for the past year. And Celtic were pretty sensational, I thought. Obviously, LASK gave Celtic an early scare with that disallowed goal. I think it was inside 28 seconds. There was a panic stations for maybe the first 10 minutes. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers get left for dust as well, with the big American bulldozer up front, beat him for pace and went one-on-one with Sinisalo and dragged his shot wide of the post. But, I think gradually Celtic they gradually grew into the game and began to assert themselves, especially in the middle of the park. I thought Callum McGregor did quite well to get a grip of the engine room. When LASK were, they were threading through some nice balls and they were taking play over nicely. There was a couple of boys in the middle of the park there that were causing Celtic issues as well. But I thought that Celtic really came alive. We'll probably touch upon it, but Benjamin Negrin's goal really was excellent. It was something that I think Celtic fans have just become accustomed to seeing from Benjamin Negrin, especially this season. He just seems to be in the right place at the right time. It was a kind of basic cross ball from Kieran Tierney, which LASK failed to deal with. It fell perfectly for Benjamin Negrin in the edge of the penalty area, and he just was absolutely rifled at home. And I think that really settled the nerves for Celtic. And obviously, Camilo Duran shortly afterwards, an absolute screamer of a volley. I don't think any keeper in world football saving that. It was an absolute...
It was almost in the same place as well, like right in the edge of the ball, same kind of strike. Bang.
And you know how good a goal like that is when by the crowd's reaction, the noise. It wasn't a typical celebration from the fans. It was like a whoa kind of moment. It was. I don't think anybody was expecting him to hit it so sweetly. And it was such a clean strike. And as I say, I don't think any keeper in football's keeping that out the back of the net. So Duran, he was excellent. He's been excellent for the past couple of weeks, to be fair, at Kilmarnock, getting assists. He smashed the crossbar. At Tannadice, he obviously opened his goal account. And then last night, I think that was really... I think Duran is going to be a superstar in the making. That was really, I think he laid down a marker there. This guy scored 5 goals in the Champions League for Qarabağ last season, and if Celtic make it this year, you probably wouldn't put it past him hitting kind of similar heights. He was absolutely outstanding. I mean, attacking wise, he was just a constant threat, but defensively as well, Angus, there was a point where he made a lung busting run back, probably must have been about 75, 80 minutes, help out Colby Donovan, and the stadium just rose to their feet and just gave him a standing ovation, a huge round of applause. He was just outstanding. He was electric from start to finish, and Celtic have got a real player in their hands there, a real player. I don't like pushing players out the door before, when they've only just arrived, but for me, this boy is going to be the next £30 million player to leave Scottish football. I can see him going on to become, to reach a real high level.
I think Martin O'Neill was saying, I don't want to call him a world-class player, but he was put in a world-class performance. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very rare that Martin O'Neill, being an old-school manager he is, dishes out such kind of praise to any of his players. I don't think even he's quite reluctant to even do it with Henrik Larsson back in the day at times as well, and definitely a very own Chris Sutton. But it was a performance of the highest calibre for me. It was outstanding. It just ran riot. And the thing is as well, Angus, you need to remember he isn't even playing his best position at the minute. His best position is as a striker, and he's playing out wide right to accommodate Casper who probably didn't have the best of games, but still he's such a kind of focal point up front. He worked his socks off, and I think he just links up play pretty well as well. His hold up play really gave Celtic an outlet to move forward with, and obviously he was involved in the third goal as well, which Camilo Duran expertly put away. So I think overall you just see the difference in quality from this time last year, where they were powder puff up front against Kerry Almaty, to now where they've got proven Champions League goal scorers, and that was the difference. I said it last night before the game, that would be the difference.
Still back at that as well, looking at that kind of nightmare for Celtic. You look at the importance of recruitment. When you look at just these two signings that Celtic have made, how much they've raised the mood at Celtic Park as well, and that will have just solidified it.
Yeah, they've totally galvanised the club. The mood music's completely changed, and that's what happens when you spend money in quality. I think the only money Celtic spent on a striker last season was £1.5 million in Shin Yamada, and they were relying on him to bail Brendan Rodgers' side out a trouble against Kerry Almaty last year. And then you look at the team that they fielded last night. I thought even with Arnie Engels obviously gone and Alistair Johnson injured, it was still a really strong lineup. Mika Bauer in the middle of the park as well. He obviously made his full debut, and I thought it was really impressive. He covered some amount of grass. I think he covered probably every blade of grass last night. He was everywhere. He was unlucky with a couple of shots at target as well. He was creative. He was a bundle of energy, and you need to remember, as I said, he's not really played much at all this summer or pre-season. But early impressions, he looks a real find as well. So Celtic are ticking along nicely, and it was one of their kind of best European performances in a while. I look back at obviously that campaign when Celtic beat Leipzig and went toe to toe with Bayern Munich. So you're looking, that's probably up there with that type of performance. And I think that if they can just continue to sprinkle a wee bit of quality into this squad, we spoke about it last night, I think they definitely need another midfielder in the ilk of Arnie Engels. They need cover at left back. I think they still need a winger, and obviously need a second goalkeeper there as well. So if they can add 3 or 4 additional quality signings, then I think Celtic are going to be in a really, really good place. And certainly domestically, I don't think there's anybody that can stop them.
Yeah, of course, at the start of a new season, you'll see teams growing into the way the manager wants, the way that their stars can produce. We've been talking about certain aspects of Celtic's game that have kind of put, not red flags, but put up some things to look at. There was 2 moments in that game where the offside flag, rightly offside flags, but that goal right at the start, had the Celtic fans maybe sweating just for a second until the goals went in. But just Do you think that this side's starting to grow into what Martin O'Neill is wanting from this side?
Yeah, I mean, last season, I think most people would say it was a bit of a chore to watch Celtic at times. Clearly, they came alive at the end of the season, and they put a winning run together of 7 games, which helped them win the league, and then obviously the additional 2 games in the Scottish Cup to complete a double. So I think the adrenaline got them through that period. But you look at now, I mean, it's when you compare to last season, the amount of last minute goals that they'd scored. I think a lot of games this season are going to be done and dusted quite early, especially if they can keep Duran and Casper Hu injury free throughout the course of the campaign. I think that's the key to it, and I think that's what Martin O'Neill said as well. Because if you get these boys fit and firing, then, as I say, I don't really think there's anybody in Scotland that'll be able to live with that front line. So I think, that definitely, you can definitely see signs of progress. I still think defensively they're vulnerable. I'm a bit concerned about Cameron Carter-Vickers. He came on to a game last night. I thought he was imperious, especially in the second half. He made some vital blocks. He was dominant in the air as he usually is, but that opening 10 minutes, as I said, he was... I just worry that he might have lost a yard of pace after this Achilles injury. He was really caught for pace. And obviously, it was for the disallowed goal. It was a simple ball over the top, and they get caught flat-footed, and obviously the boy rifled at home. And then again, there was that opportunity a few moments later when he simply get outrun, and Celtic were let off the hook. But I think if you're talking about defensive players, I thought Kobe Donovan coming in at right back. Obviously, Duran will get all the headlines, and probably Nygren as well. But Donovan was excellent at right back. That was a real coming of age performance. I think I was watching him last night, and I was saying to my colleague that I couldn't believe we're watching a boy that's only 19 years old. I did think that, and I mentioned it, but I think that Donovan last season performed really well at the European stage. He started and played just about all of the Europa League games. But it's a different level playing at Champions League against the best team in Austria, and I thought he was excellent. It was a total all-action display. He combined really well with Camilo Duran down the right as well. He played one diag in particular, which was absolutely exquisite. It was a worldie of a ball.
Celtic was excellent last night.
Yeah, Celtic couldn't quite execute it, but he was outstanding, and I think if Alistair Johnson is undergoing scans today to find out the full extent of his injury, I think there's a fear that he could be out for another extended period of time. But if Kobe Donovan can continue to produce those sort of performances, then I think Celtic have got a really able deputy there. Another thing is as well, Angus, is the fact that Celtic and Rangers, and I suppose all clubs in Scotland, get criticised for not, having a pathway for young academy players to reach the first team. And they have created this pathway for Kobe Donovan, and he sees his opportunity with both hands. He's even pushed Anthony Ralston out of the picture as well. Ralston's 27 years old, and he's never really let Celtic down. He's a kind of really solid player, but I think Donovan, especially going forward, just gives you that bit more. And he really looked the part last night. He was excellent. I think he pulled up a wee bit of cramp towards the end, which is fair enough, because he ran his heart out. So yeah, I think that was encouraging. Kieran Tierney on the other side obviously had a part to play in 2 of the goals as well. So yeah, Celtic are really ticking, and it's just a case of between now and the end of the window, if they can add more quality, I think that's what Martin will certainly be wanting. And yeah, in terms of next week as well, I guess we've seen so many times Celtic throwing away leads and costly blunders and putting themselves under unnecessary pressures. They can be the architects of their own downfall at times, and I think Celtic they can't afford to concede early over there in Austria. I think that's an absolute must. Obviously, if they can get that early goal, then that should pretty much see them through. But they need to keep the back door closed for certainly the first 20 minutes, because LASK were a real threat last night. I think we all saw that. And on another night, they could and probably should have scored. So there was certainly warning signs there for Celtic. I don't think by any manner of means that this tie is completely over. I don't think Martin O'Neill or his dressing room will think it's over. But I think you couldn't have asked for a better scoreline heading over to LASK for this second leg. It was just exactly what Martin O'Neill could have ordered.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic result for the Hoops last night, and of course keep your comments coming in. I'm seeing a lot of them come through from Rangers. Apologies regarding our slight delay to the show today, and obviously the technical problems we had. These things happen in football, as they say, lads. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us. That's us for tonight's Hotline Live. Of course, we're talking about Rangers, we're talking about Celtic. Obviously, Rangers kicking off today, but they're not the only team. Celtic obviously setting the standard that we want for all the Scottish teams. But of course, we've got Motherwell at Freiburg, difficult tie for them. Freiburg at Motherwell, sorry. Hibs at Ghent over in Belgium. Hearts have Rapid Vienna, and of course Rangers playing Jablonec tonight. So good luck to all the Scottish teams. Keep your comments coming in. Thank you very much to all of our contributors. Of course, thank you to our sponsors NordVPN, and of course all the commenters, all our viewers, all our listeners as well for the podcast. I appreciate you all, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you later. Have a good night, guys.